The Yamada Asaemon are one of the main factions of Hell's Paradise. I'll briefly go through each of them in this video, avoiding spoilers as much as I can. Of course, I'll start with an explanation of what the Yamada Asaemon are first. For starters, the group consists mostly of members from the Yamada clan. They're actually based off of real-life Ronin sword testers, also named the Yamada Asaemon, who served the Tokugawa shogunate up to the 19th century. In the manga, those who receive the title are the ones tasked with testing new swords as well as executing criminals through decapitation with a single stroke. They strongly believe in a painless execution for criminals and are known for being able to hone their skills enough to cut off a person's head with one swing. The neck itself is a very complex part of the human body, so slicing cleanly through it is a difficult feat. With the clan's in-depth knowledge of the human body, Asaemon are able to visibly find the openings around the muscle, sinew, and bone. By following those principles of beheading, no amount of durability can save someone from losing their head. In the first chapter, even Gabimaru could sense that he would have lost his head, even with having a very durable body. Other names for the Asaemon title bearers include Asa the Slayer or Asa the Decapitator. The clan also has a ranking system based around the potential one has to be a clan head and takes into account the high knowledge a member might have in a certain field, as well as the level of skill they have with the Tamishi Ito Ryu. The Tamishi Ito Ryu is basically the sword style used by the Yamada Asaemon in combat, which is the sword testing skills they learned during their training. Each member has their own variation of it, which I'll go into a bit as I get into each of them. The ranking system itself goes from 1 to 20, with the first rank being the most suitable to be the next clan head. However, it should be made clear that their overall strength isn't necessarily defined by the ranking in some cases. In fact, fighting ability is one of the least important things that matter to the rank. There are also some unranked members who are also skilled enough to earn the title, but are also lacking in certain areas. There are only two of these members who are unranked. Kiyomaru has the rank because he is too young, and Isuzu doesn't have one because of her gender. I'll go over the two unranked members first, starting with Kiyomaru. He's the youngest of the Yamada Asaemon at 12 years old, but is also very skilled with the sword, and his small body allows him to use his spinning and rotating sword attacks at high speeds. Shugen, who I'll talk about later, believes Kiyomaru had the potential to reach the first or second rank, and he's one of the few chosen to be a part of the second team heading to the island, which further highlights his skills. He's a bit of an arrogant brat due to the power he has at a young age, even ordering someone to kill themselves. He was only mainly loyal to Shugen and would do anything he ordered. The same could be said for Isuzu, who's also a strong follower of Shugen's. She was also a part of the second team sent to the island with Kiyomaru. Her attitude can vary from being respectable to her comrades to being much more serious in a fight. Like Shugen, she also believes that all criminals should not be shown mercy and isn't willing to cooperate with them for the most part. She also actually joined the Yamada clan with her brother Genji when they were young. She was also made fun of and even called a gorilla because of her darker appearance and stature. Physically, she's pretty strong, with enough power to shatter the ground at will. Shugen has also praised her sword skills, which also makes sense as she uses two katanas and can also combine them to form a double-bladed naginata, which she uses to deflect attacks and attack her enemies. She also possesses water Tao and can imbue it into her weapons. The head of the Yamada clan, Kijiji, is also Sagiri's father. He was also strongly against Sagiri wielding the sword and looked down on her for attempting to become a samurai. As for his skills, we don't see much of them besides him decapitating a criminal with a single stroke that the body hadn't even realized it was already dead. Alright, now I'll start with the ranked members. I'll start from the bottom and go up, starting with Sagiri at rank 12. As like the second protagonist of the series, it might be surprising to see her so low. Even at the start, she's hyped up enough to make us think she could kill Gabimaru. The rank itself does her dirty and actually doesn't speak to how skilled she really is. The reason she's ranked so low is due to her lack of experience on the field, and because she's a woman. Multiple characters have expressed how skillful Sagiri is, and she also has the feats to back them up, such as in her fights between Gabimaru and Rokuruta that we see earlier on. Her skills becomes even more apparent as Tao is introduced. Her Tao attribute is also wood, and her sense and ability even surpasses Shion. If we're talking simply about skill, I argue she's up there with the best, but that can also be debated at another time. Next at rank 11 is Kisho. He was Rokuruta's assigned escort, and he was pretty cool with Sagiri, even offered to deal with Gabimaru himself so she could leave. It's questionable if he could actually do that though, knowing what happens later. In terms of skills, besides his swordsmanship, his strong composure and nerves of steel allow him to have foresight to react and avoid attacks, which would normally require Tao to do. At rank 10, we got our boy Tenza. He was assigned as the escort to Narugai, but ended up wanting to help her. He didn't believe the young girl deserved the fate she received and wanted to help bring her back. Tenza himself used to live on the streets before Shion took him in, became Shion's apprentice, and worked his way up to the 10th rank. In combat, his speed was impressive enough to even surprise one of the Tensen. He can also mix his speed with his swordsmanship to increase the speed of his attacks. Shion did note that the technique needed improvement, which leads into his Idoryo Pound and Torrent, where Tenza takes the criticism into account and rapidly slashes the opponent with its proper movements. Fuchi was the 9th ranked Asaemon and was assigned to escort Gantetsuai. Rather than testing swords, Fuchi was more interested in the anatomy of the human body. He wanted to improve medical science to save lives, which is why he was intrigued to learn about the unique traits the Tensen possessed. He'd be the guy analyzing the dead bodies of the creatures killed on the island. It was his kindness and selflessness that ultimately led him into pursuing this research. In terms of fighting skill, Fuchi is quite agile and nimble, which you see in most of his fights. His focus on medical knowledge also lets him quickly provide first aid and create medicine, even on the field. You could say he possessed the most medical knowledge of the Yamada Asaemon. The 8th rank Asaemon is Genji. He's actually the brother of Isuzu and was assigned to escort Moro Makiya. He later linked up with the main crew for a bit because of Yuza Riha. He's pretty serious and is also against women in the Yamada clan being samurais, which you see in his interactions with Sagiri. Physically, his strength is exceptional, which you see is even able to rival some of the physically strong characters. According to Shugen, his wrist strength was powerful enough to even cause opposing swordsmen to lose in a sword fight. The 7th ranked Asaemon is Sumutsu Umu. Like some of his fellow peers, he's also a devoted follower to Shugen. To be honest, we don't really see much of this guy since he had to stay behind to watch over the Yamada clan grounds. All we really know is that he has good housework skills. His combat skills are questionable, as Jiko thought the ones that stayed behind were too weak to go onto the island. Of course, the ranks are more focused on the suitability to be clan head, so his skills probably aren't taken into account as much. Moving on, the 6th ranked is Gagaimo, and it's also a bit questionable as to why she has the rank. She falls into the same issue as Sumutsu Umu, as she also stays behind. Both Sumutsu Umu and her had begged Shugen to go and he denied them. We know her specialty is connecting with people and that she's at least capable of decapitating them with a single cut since she's an Asaemon. But now to the top 5. First we got Senta at rank 5. He is the one assigned to watch over Yuza Riha. Senta strangely dislikes his role of having to kill people, but did it to uphold the family tradition. He's also a bit of a nervous guy as well, and really only spoke when it was necessary. He's able to have good judgment when it came to handling certain situations, and he was also very caring to the members of the group. You could say his specialty was theology, as he had lots of interest and thoughts on the religious aspect of the island. He would go from nervous to analytical whenever the topic came up. As a child, he focused a lot more on his studies, mostly on theology, as he couldn't be an artist, which led to him rising up the ranks. He falls more to the Fuchi category, as his rank comes less from his skills in combat and more so his knowledge in one certain aspect. The most we see of his fighting style is him using the sword like a fencer and using more precision behind his attacks. At rank 4 we have Shion. Although he was blinded as a child by his mother in order to be a performer and make money, Shion can actually use the blindness to his advantage to sense his surroundings with Tao at a higher level than most. He was assigned to watch over Akaginu. Since he's a teacher, he does take up the leadership role at times quite well. He was actually the one who brought Tenza in and trained him. In terms of combat, Shion is definitely one of the stronger fighters. He has great speed and reflexes, being able to save his comrades many times throughout the series. He can use his sword fast enough to slash through many objects in an instant. Shion also has the ability to use the Lado sword style, where he unsheathes his blade to rapidly slash anything, and then resheathes it after completing the move with the techniques like Ito Ryu, Harvest Shower. Combined with his ability to sense Tao, Shion is able to time his sword strikes well enough to counter his incoming projectiles. He's also able to efficiently use his wood Tao. Since he was blinded, he was able to sense Tao to make up for that at a young age, although he didn't know that was Tao at the time. Now, onto rank 3, it's Jika. Jika's very calm and relaxed, almost lazy to be honest, as he'd rather not fight at all. He didn't even want to be on the island. However, he also does have this mysterious aura around him, like he's scheming something. He was assigned to escort Horobu, but that didn't really last too long either. Even amongst Asaemon, he has a bad reputation, but that's mostly because of his lack of respect and cold-hearted nature. He really only cares for no one but himself, however his analytical abilities and sword skills make up for this. He's able to read through anything and see the big picture at a first glance. From the age of a young child, he had gained the principle of things, which is the ability to know how things or people will move accordingly, which also proved useful when dealing with fatal injuries to people. He decided to use that talent to become a samurai so he wouldn't have to go to war. However, after eventually joining the Yamada clan and earning his title as a third-ranked Asaemon, he took his role less seriously, even showing up drunk to executions. Not going into spoilers, but he has some pretty crazy feats when it comes to his skills. It helps that he has the principle of things, which allows him to determine what it will take to cut down his targets by assessing when all the major factors required are working in unison. Even with his bamboo sword, Jika can execute the strikes as if they were a regular sword. He claims that his special intuition is completely flawless and believes that his ability far surpasses the ability to sense Tao. Now, onto the one y'all have probably been waiting for. Shugen is rank 2, who I've mentioned a lot already. This guy's very prideful, you could say, when it comes to his role as an Asaemon. He takes it very seriously and loves literally every single one of his family members, to the point of becoming emotional just by thinking of his clan members. Shugen is also one of the very rare few who vouch for the woman of the clan, such as Sagiri. He also greatly despised all criminals and believes they're all evil no matter what. He actually disagreed with the Yamada tradition of giving criminals a painless death. No one is safe from his hatred, not even children. The hatred originated from the time his parents were murdered when he was a child. And bro, like, it's no wonder he looks like Sasuke. I mean, I can't be the only one who sees the physical resemblance at least, right? Like, bruh. Anyways, Shugen strangely believes that those who follow the law should be protected and those that don't should be punished without mercy. We see an example of this when he's ordered to execute a Yakuza group, and goes even further by slaughtering their entire family lines to ensure justice was completed. Then he started to cry, telling the boss he hoped they all became righteous in the afterlife, for killing them too. He clearly could not allow himself to ally with anyone working with the criminals, no matter who they were. He placed this brand of justice over his own desires. As for his strength, well, even his own peers believed he was the strongest, and quite a few members became his followers. Besides this insane physical strength and durability, Shugen has the unique capability to replicate the skills of his fellow Yamada Asaemon. This was due to him spending his time deeply analyzing their personalities, strengths, and weaknesses. It's to the point where it seems he becomes possessed by the Yamada Asaemon he's emulated. By being able to switch from one Asaemon to another, his opponents can feel like they're fighting more than one opponent. He can even compensate for any weaknesses they might have by applying his own skills. As for his Tao, although his own personal one is water, his replication ability allows him to even transform his Tao to match whichever Asaemon he's copying, allowing him to fight well against nearly any user of Tao, even flower Tao users. Lastly, on rank 1, it's Aizen. After talking about Shugen, it's safe to say he isn't the strongest. He was assigned to escort Rokuruta, and was actually the man who brought Shugen into the clan. One of the important things to know about him is that he had a more antagonistic relationship with Sagiri because he didn't believe women should be samurai and that she should live her life comfortably in a household. When it comes to his skills, he is the most likely to become the head of the clan, even though it's actually stated that he has lackluster combat skills. So, due to the ranking system focusing less on combat skills, it's pretty safe to say Aizen is given the first rank because of the qualifications he has for becoming clan head. With that said, those are essentially all the known members of the Yamada Asaemon. Hope you all got a bit more insight on the clan and its members. I thought they were a good contrast to all the criminals on the island, and it's fun to see the interactions they all have with each other. Anyways, if you made it this far, hope you enjoyed the video, and I might make one explain to other criminals too. For now though, you can check out this video here explaining Tao, which is the power system of Hell's Paradise.